Don't you understand? Noah is still essential to our plans." It was Kyle who had just entered the room. He was shaking with rage, seeing Ruby act so recklessly. Taking Ash's advice, Anna began to frequent the social events of Howler City. From charity auctions to gala dinners, she would put on lavish gowns with matching heels, curl up her hair and hold a fancy clutch in her hand, while her other one would be wrapped around Ash's arm. It made a perfect couple. The media and paparazzi couldn't get enough of them. Their pictures would be flashed and made headlines. The heiress returns with a bang. The forgotten heiress makes a glamorous comeback. The foxy heiress and the handsome alpha king. Every newspaper printed their own version of the headlines and story. Every social media ran their pictures. The Howler City was caught in a frenzied storm, created by Anna Carroll. Soon it became well known that she was very close to the alpha king as well as his young son, Prince Oliver. It added to her popularity, which soared within days. The members of Anna's pack who were loyal to Ruby began to secretly come and meet her. Some of them apologized for not sticking to Anna's side and adding to the maltreatment of 6 years ago. They swore allegiance to her and complained of Ruby's tyrannical tenure, saying Anna was indeed the true heir and alpha of the pack. The news of so many members defecting to Anna's side finally reached Ruby. The anger engulfed and chewed her whole. Her cheeks turned the very color her name was. "How dare she try and take away my people?" Ruby shouted in frustration and pulled at her hair. Her bout of anger continued and she decided to go visit Noah. Taking her gang of rogues along, she reached the hospital where they were keeping Noah. They created havoc, pushing the guards the hospital had appointed to keep Noah safe. Ruby entered the ICU unit and proceeded to where they were keeping him, followed by her man. Doctors and nurses tried to intervene, but she told them she was taking her mate home and they could do nothing about it. Everyone stepped back when she extracted her gun and pointed it at the doctors. They raised their hands and gave up. The woman was unhinged and no one wished to cross her path. Her goons shifted Noah back to her pack. He was transferred to a special room and jerked awake by the cold water being thrown on his face. Ruby's sinister smile was the first thing he saw. Her nostrils were flared like a bull and she could hardly control herself. "Rise and shine, Noah," she sarcastically laughed, seeing the confused expressions on his face. A wave of fear passed through him, seeing he was in an unfamiliar place and Ruby was looming over him. "Where am I?" "Oh, the correct question is where you will be when I am going to be done with you," she menacingly answered, cracking her knuckles. Noah paled and his eyes widened. "What do you want, Ruby? Why am I here?" he questioned in a trembling voice, trying to sit up, but his body was still weak and in the healing phase. "What I want is to know why you handed over everything I worked for years to achieve to that bitch Anna." Before he could answer, she stepped closer and landed a punch on Noah's wounded chest. With a loud, painful shriek, he doubled over in pain. Some of his stitches became loose as she rained punch after punch on him without mercy, taking out all her frustration on him. The once lovers had become sworn enemies. They say, karma is a bitch, and the case of Noah and Ruby proved it. Blood began to ooze out of Noah's mouth and chest, and soon he became unconscious again, unable to bear the torture Ruby had subjected him with. Ruby spat at him in disgust, her eyes nothing but pits of jealousy and hatred. Taking out her gun, she was about to shoot Noah when the gun was wrenched from her hand and a swift slap landed on her face. It sent her spiraling and she landed on the ground. "Learn your position, Ruby. Don't you understand? Noah is still essential to our plans." It was Kyle who had just entered the room. He was shaking with rage, seeing Ruby act so recklessly. Ruby's lip had split open and her cheek had swollen as she collected herself from the ground and stood up. "He is the reason we are in this pickle right now. The Night Shadow Warriors pack and Carroll Industries is slipping from our fingers because of his actions," she raged. "The equal blame falls on you, Ruby. You are a mere puppet in this game which is far above your understanding. You were sent to keep an eye on the affairs of the pack, not act an executioner. Your failure to do the job has cost us dearly." Kyle pointed an accusing finger to her and Ruby took a step back in terror. She knew how dangerous he could get. "I'm sorry. Just give me another chance to prove myself." Ruby cunningly put on an innocent face to gain his sympathy. "Another chance? You don't stand one against Anna. She is far above you now. The way she has made her return and has gained popularity, sought out the strongest of our kind and wriggled her way into his life. Do you think you really stand a chance in front of Asher and Anna? Kyle questioned, putting away her gun and taking out his phone to call the doctors so they could treat Noah. Ruby's jealousy surged even further seeing Kyle praise Anna. She clenched her fists and closed her mouth into a tight line. She believed Anna's whole strength laid with Asher, and if she could somehow create a wedge between the two, she will be able to tear them apart and secure her victory. Her evil mind began to conjure up new plans for Asher and Anna as she walked out of the room with a very stiff back and a bleeding lip. Everything was going on smoothly. I had made a successful return to society. The media couldn't get enough of me, and Asher and the members of my pack had begun to trust me again. Their sincere apologies brought me intense satisfaction. Soon I would win enough favors to slide into the role meant for me and oust Ruby forever. Asher and I arrived back home from an afternoon event. After changing my heavy glittery gown and slipping on a comfortable shirt with a pockmon on it, I made my way to the kitchen to cook something delicious for Asher and Oliver. I settled for egg fried rice and shrimp soup. As I began to cook, Asher entered the kitchen in gray slacks and a black tank top. Every muscle in his body was on display for me to feast on. Seemed like he had just stepped down from a modeling runway. He opened the fridge and extracted an apple, leaning forward and giving me a perfect view of his sculpted buns. Closing the fridge, he tossed the apple in the air and effortlessly caught it. Leaning against the counter, he took a bite out of the juicy red fruit. A drop of juice dribbled down his cheek. His tongue lapped out and licked it clean, as those bluish orbs remained fixated on me all this while. My core clenched seeing his action, and I wanted that rough tongue to slide against my needy skin, to quench the thirst his stormy eyes always ignited inside of me. If I didn't know better, I would think you were trying to seduce me, I breathed out, trying to keep my voice from shaking and trying to concentrate on my cooking. It took quite an effort to tear my eyes away from this husky male. Tilting his head, he scanned my body like a laser. I could literally feel his heated gaze scorching the very parts they slid on. He slowly asked, "Is it working?" and took another bite of the apple. The scrunching sound filled the air. Who knows? I delicately shrugged my shoulders and he stalked towards me like a predator, tossing the apple stump in the dustbin, his hands wrapped around my waist, pulling me into his heat. My back collided with his sturdy chest and an ah left my mouth. His warm breath hit the back of my neck, creating goosebumps. Why don't we find out? His large hand snaked into my shirt, inching closer to the curve of my chest as his lips landed on the slope of my neck. His tongue licked the soft skin there. A warm fire bloomed in my chest and spread downward, pooling in the deepest part of me. Asher's coarse fingers soon found the tight peaks of my breasts. He pinched them gently between his thumb and index finger, and I squealed. Ah! Closing my eyes, I felt every sensation his touch invoked, trying to press more of my skin into his hands. Seems like it's working fine now. Why don't we take it to the bedroom? He murmured sultrily, and I hummed in agreement. My mind too occupied as I turned off the burner, the cooking left half done. Asher picked me up, bridal style, and carried me to his room. Shutting the door with the back of his foot, he sat me on the bed and stood in front. A firm, mountainous shape strained against the fabric of his slacks, drawing my gaze. Involuntarily, I reached out and traced my index finger along its outline, let out a needy growl, making me bolder. Pulling on the string holding his slacks, I pulled them down, revealing the hard, proud column of him. It rose like an unbowed sapling, its tip brushing near my lips. "You want a taste, Anna?" His voice had taken that sinful, darkened tone to it like a dark chocolate. I mused, licking my lower lip. His hand reached the back of my head, guiding me closer to him. I opened my mouth and he leaned in, pressing against my lips and tongue, very slowly. "Arg!" A needy grunt escaped his mouth as he threw back his head and moved his hips forward. I opened my mouth wider, trying to give him more space, my throat tightening slightly. This was new for me. "Good girl, you are taking it beautifully. Keep going," he praised, pushing the hair from my face away as he moved deeper. I fought a reflexive tightening as tears pricked my eyes and Asher slowly pulled back only to move forward again. His hand tightened in my hair as he moved in a steady rhythm against my mouth. My eyes lifted to find him, and there was this raw, sinful beauty in them which made me want to continue. The tears trickled out of my eyes, but the pads of his thumb slowly wiped it away. "You are doing great," he said, picking up the pace. His hips moved in time with my movements, his grip on my hair keeping me close. There was a thrill to be held in the thrall of a man like Asher. "Fuck, your touch is amazing, Anna." He grunted again and closed his eyes, reveling in the ecstasy I brought him. "I am so close, but I want to be inside you," he breathed out with difficulty and unwillingly pulled back from me. I took large gulps of air and wiped my chin as a strand of saliva had trickled down. Asher let me catch my breath before pulling off my clothes and pushing me down into the soft mattress of his bed. I complied happily and he took off his top before climbing over me. His warmth engulfed me completely. "Anna Carroll, what are you doing to me?" he asked passionately before pressing into me in a quick, deep movement. I moaned and my toes curled from his actions. "I don't know, but it feels so good, Asher. Make me lose myself." I squealed and he complied, gladly. And another night of our burning passion began and lasted till dawn. Exhausted and spent, I finally drifted into sleep in his comforting arms. I was awakened by the sound of a child crying and the soft banging of small fists on the door. Both of us sprung out of bed, knowing it was Oliver. We exchanged a confused glance and I quickly dressed up. Asher grabbed his clothes and made a beeline for the washroom. I went to open the door to see if Oliver was all right. The sight which met my eyes jerked my heart. Oliver was standing there with his cheeks streaked with tears and eyes swollen red. My heart dived into my stomach seeing him like that. "Hey, what's wrong?" I bent down and quickly reached out to wipe the tears off his chubby cheek. My heart ached to see him cry like that. Taking his hand, I brought him inside the room so we could sit and talk. Asher had gone to the bathroom to shower and change. "You didn't even make food for me last night. It was unfinished, and then you didn't even come to my room to wish me good night or give me a kiss." He hiccuped, rubbing his eyes and crying some more. The pangs of guilt gripped my heart. I was so consumed with Asher that I completely forgot about Oliver. "I am so sorry, Oliver. I should have done all that. I promise this will never be repeated. Please, have it in your heart to forgive me," I requested while touching my ears and sincerely apologizing to him. He gave me a hurtful look before speaking in his enraged voice. "It's not your fault, it's my father's fault. He has stolen you away from me." Asher exited the bathroom at that moment with a towel in his hand to dry his wet hair. His eyes wavered to his crying son. "Will you explain how that's my fault? Didn't you tell me that you wanted Anna to be your mother?" Asher questioned, coming to stand directly opposite Oliver. The father and son duo stubbornly stared at each other while I helplessly watched both of them and hoped a fight wouldn't break out. "Didn't tell you to keep her all to yourself. I don't think I want her as my mother anymore. I want Anna to be my partner, not yours. You are selfish," Oliver hurtfully said, making Asher's eyes blaze with rage. "Don't say things you don't understand. How many times have I informed you that Anna can't be your mate? Stop spewing nonsense." Asher spoke so sternly that Oliver was slightly taken aback. His mouth opened to counter, but seeing the look of anger on his father's face, he closed it again and got to his feet. Before I could stop him, he rushed out of the door crying some more. I felt helpless and angered, even frustrated at the situation. Crossing my arms, I faced Asher and demanded, "Did you have to yell? He is a kid who doesn't understand all these complexities and he was feeling left out. How can you be so rude to him? To your own son?" Asher let out a frustrated sigh and raked his fingers through his damp hair. He tossed the towel on the back of a chair and moved slowly, almost like a tired man, and slumped himself beside me on the chair Oliver had left. He quietly picked up my right hand and sandwiched it between his large ones. "Anna," he softly spoke, and I could feel the burdens his voice carried. I glanced in his direction and found his eyes had this sad demure about them. "Look, what I am about to reveal might upset you, but I can't hide the truth any longer. You deserve to know now, and so does Oliver. A lot of time has already been lost." What was he mumbling about? I had no clue. "Stop speaking in riddles. Tell me what it is," I annoyedly said. "That mark on your belly. You had a C-section, And you acted as a surrogate for someone, right? He carefully asked, and I was not that stunned. Asher had resources, and I knew he never bought my appendix story anyways. Yes, but I lost the child. But I guess you already know that too. I spoke almost painfully. I wondered if the impact of that incident on me would ever fade. You didn't, Anna. Oliver is that child, and I am the alpha for whom you went through surrogacy. His words fell on me like a thunderbolt, burning me down to my bones. I extracted my hand from him and clasped my mouth, my eyes almost blowing out of my sockets. I shifted away, as far away as was possible from Asher. My world went blank for several seconds as the harsh truth sunk in. The sleepless nights I had spent crying for my child, the emotional pain I had endured, the scars I carried, everything came hurtling down and turned me into an emotional mess yet again. The tears leaked from my eyes, carrying my pain. My heart grievously ached. So much time I had lost with my pup. About 5 years, his whole childhood. The first steps, the first words, all his milestones that I would never be able to experience. He had my eyes. I always thought his eyes had the exact same color as mine. Why didn't I connect the dots? How could I not recognize my child? How one could you be so cruel, Asher? My voice cracked like the earth does after a strong earthquake. Everything shattered and I completely fell apart. I crossed my legs, huddling them to my heaving chest. Burying my face in them, I cried loudly, "Anna, please, forgive me. Don't cry." He swept in and, hooking his arms underneath me, picked me up and shifted me to his lap. I pounded at his chest angrily. I kicked him with my legs, but he just held me to him, letting me vent. "It's okay, let it all out. I am at fault here, I know," he mournfully stated. His voice broke too as I was finally exhausted and buried my face in his chest to cry openly. I bawled like a baby for an infinity. The pain was so raw, but there was this happiness too. My child, my own flesh and blood, was alive. Getting hold of my emotions, I finally asked, "Why, Asher? What reason do you have to keep a mother from her child? Didn't your heart hurt? Tell me," I demanded, wiping away my tears and raising my head to stare into those saddened oceanic eyes of his. He was watching me with so much reverence, but all I needed was his answers. Anna, my previous mate, was a conniving woman. She caused me and my pack irreparable damage just to get my money. I loved her, but she used me, and then she cheated on me and ran away with a vast amount. It made me believe that women only wanted money. Asher slowly tangled his hands in my hair and painfully spoke. His face had hardened like granite, and I knew he was stuck in some bad memory. "Not all women," I sadly answered, trying to stabilize my emotions. His agonized eyes dipped towards me as he answered, "I know that now. I didn't know it before. You changed my thinking by creeping into my heart and enlarging it with your love. Besides, I can't mate with just anyone. Blaze wouldn't let me. His power is so intense that I can literally kill someone. That's why I chose surrogacy, just to keep you safe. I am sorry, Anna. I made a very grave mistake of keeping you from your child." His face spoke volumes, so did his eyes, of how sorry and disturbed he was due to his decision. "Your apology won't bring back the time I have lost, Asher," I cried out and wiped away my tears with the back of my hand. "I know, and I will keep repenting. But you will not lose another second away from your child now. My heart has chosen you as my partner. My wolf has chosen you, even though your wolf can't feel the connection. But I do. You are mine and Oliver's, and we are yours. Forgive me," he requested yet again, and I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. He was betrayed in the worst possible way, just like I was. We were two broken souls trying to heal each other. He did what he needed to do to keep Oliver safe because Asher was unaware of my hardships. I'd often thought of adopting Oliver, but now, with this newfound truth, he was already mine and will always be along with Asher. "I forgive you, Asher, but don't keep my child away from me again. I have suffered enough," I warned, and he vehemently shook his head. "I would never. Oliver is yours. Go talk to him and ease his fears too," he prompted. His hand reached out and brushed away the rest of my tears. The thought of Oliver melted away my remaining heart. I couldn't wait to hold him again and kiss his cheeks, to have him in my motherly embrace. He was mine, my child. I left Asher's lap and rushed out of the room to head upstairs. My heart was beating so fast in anticipation that I could feel it leaping out of my chest. I took 2 steps at a time to ascend them faster, rehearsing the words I needed to say to my child. I reached his closed doors and took a moment to collect myself. I slowly knocked on the door. "Come!" Oliver's teary voice came through, and I instantly opened the door to enter. He was sitting on his bed, clutching the giant stuffed toy we had won in the race. He was still crying. "Oliver," I lovingly called him out, and he turned to face me with an extremely sad face. Stepping closer slowly, I settled on his bed, opposite him. "Come here, my child." I slowly spread my arms and he rushed into them, throwing away the stuffed polar bear. A missing piece of my heart seemed to fall into place as I closely hugged Oliver to my chest and sniffled. The tears leaked out again and both of us began to cry. I am your mother. Your real mother, Oliver. Your father Juice told me." I choked out and Oliver stiffened in my arms. He let go of his hold and leaned back with a stunned face. His beautiful green eyes were blown open in shock. His tiny hands reached out and cradled my face. "Is that true? Are you really my mom?" He breathlessly asked, and I nodded, kissing his palm, while the tears blurred my vision. He gasped in shock and stared at me in bewilderment. I gave him time, not pushing him. It was an overload of sensory emotions for him and he could go into shock. Gently, I rubbed his back, letting him adjust to this new reality. His emotions slowly stabilized, and he finally shouted out and leapt into my arms again. "Mom!" "Oliver, I am so glad I found you," I breathed out, and together we cried some more. But this time it was happy tears. "You won't leave me again, right?" he asked in a frightened voice. His little hand clutched my shirt as if he was afraid I would disappear any moment. "I will never leave you, Oliver. Dad and I are going to have some words. He is such a liar." Oliver huffed like a tiny annoyed dragon. "Your dad was just keeping you safe." We didn't know each other back then, and he was betrayed just like me. He did what he felt was right. "For you," I tried to explain so those fine lines on his forehead would disappear. "Well, now I know where I got these beautiful eyes and charisma from." He elegantly shrugged his shoulders and I couldn't help but laugh at his words. Seemed like a completely different child now. Happy, telling jokes and smiling. Both of us laid down in bed because it was still very early and he requested a story. Lovingly holding him near me, I narrated him stories until he fell asleep. Placing tender kisses on his forehead, I covered my son with his blanket and stared at him for a long time, until I had my heart's fill. I had years to make up for. Ensuring he was sleeping comfortably, I finally left his room, slowly closing the door and headed back to his father's room. As I was about to enter, I heard a faint sound in my head. It was so faint that for a second I thought I had imagined it, but then it became clear. It was Sable. For a second I remained rooted in my spot from shock and tried to call her. "Sable, please talk to me." But I didn't hear from her again. She was still too weak. With a rapidly beating heart, I rushed to Asher to give him the good news. Opening the door of his room, I quickly stepped inside and found him sleeping, so peacefully. The burdens he carried, the secrets he kept, and the misunderstandings he held had all been resolved today, and it reflected on his face. It was calm like the surface of the lake on a sunny day. I tiptoed to him and brushed away his silky onyx-shaded hair. Leaning over, I slowly kissed the side of his lips. The low stubble pricked my lips, but I welcomed it. His magical eyes opened, and all I saw was myself in them. Those thin lips slowly spread into a beautiful smile. "Anna!" he hoarsely called me out, putting his hands around my waist and dragging me close to his chest. "Asher, I want to become your partner and your Luna. You and Oliver are everything to me now. I am never going to leave." His face was a show of contentment, and I couldn't help but smile in return. "Oh, Anna, I would love nothing less." His hands affectionately rubbed my back. And guess what? I just faintly felt my wolf. I think she is recovering and waking up. Soon we will be able to properly bond. I shared the good news, and Blaze surfaced, peeking at me and letting an excited growl rumble deep in Asher's chest. I could sense his joy. He was dying to meet its counterpart. Asher rolled with me in his arms, pinning me down on the bed. "Anna, I can't wait to meet your wolf and let Blaze mate with her. You are ours now, both in blood and body," he triumphantly announced, making me nod my head in approval. "I am, and I can't wait for the day when you will mark me." Just to show how much he was looking forward to that day too, Asher's lips found mine as his whole body trembled and lowered, molding with me, kissed me with a raw passion, stealing my oxygen and leaving me panting for more. His tongue plunged deep into my mouth, grazing my teeth and colliding with mine. He didn't let me go until both of us were totally breathless. "Asher," I hoarsely called out as our lips finally disconnected. "My love." We snuggled for a while until Oliver woke up. Together we left the room and joined him. He was bubbling with excitement. "Mom, Dad, why don't all three of us make breakfast together?" he asked, rubbing his hands together. "Sounds like a plan. Let me get aprons," I announced, and both of them followed. "Dad should pay a penalty for keeping such a big secret from us." "What do you say, Mom?" Oliver questioned, tapping his right foot down and raising his brow. "I think you are right, Oliver." I quickly took my son's side, placing my arm around his shoulders. He raised his hand to me and we did a high five. Asher lopsidedly grinned at us while picking up the apron from the kitchen island and fastening it around his tapered waist. "So the mother-son duo are joining forces against me. Don't forget, I am the alpha, and right now, I am the king of this kitchen. Whatever both of you will demand, I will make. Chef Asher at your service." He picked up a spatula and bowed in reverence to us. Strocked, both of us giggled at his hearty action. But Oliver spoke. "Nah, Dad, not so easily. You gotta touch your ears and apologize, and then you will make us the best scrambled eggs we have ever eaten," Oliver declared, crossing his arms against his chest and raising his head high. I bit my lower lip to not laugh aloud. "Okay, young man, I know I have sinned and wronged you both, so for that I sincerely apologize. Please forgive me. And moving forward, I assure and promise you that we will be a one big happy family with no secrets." He extended his hand towards us with a love-filled smile. I placed my hand on his, followed by a beaming Oliver. "It's a promise, and I love you both," Oliver announced, making our hearts melt. Asher and I exchanged a glance and then we did a group hug. "We love you too, Oliver." Both of us crouched together. After exchanging these heartfelt moments, the three of us got busy in the kitchen, making breakfast. Oliver helped his dad in making eggs and bread while I made milkshakes for the three of us. The house was filled with love and laughter today. About 5 years ago, when I heard the news of losing my child, I would never have imagined having these precious moments, but here I was, moving towards my everlasting happiness. We settled on the dining table and began our breakfast. Oliver was teasing his father when the phone bell rang rather ominously. "I will get it," I assured them and moved towards the phone. Picking it up, I found Ruby's annoying voice coming from the other side. I clutched the phone harder, trying to contain my anger. She had ruined the beautiful moment we were sharing. "Anna, we need to meet." "Why?" I asked in annoyance. "I have the moonstone. If you want it, then you should meet me at a point of my choosing. Just come alone if you want it," she said rather suspiciously. I didn't trust a damn word coming out of this vile woman. But Moonstone was important and I knew I had to go. "I will let you know." I cut the call and turned to face Asher and Oliver with a grim expression. "We have a problem." "What's wrong? Who was on the phone?" Asher questioned. The breakfast was forgotten as both of them watched me with concern. "Ruby," I told them with clenched teeth. "What does she want?" Oliver seethed out. He hated the woman for hurting me and was very open about his hostility towards her. I explained the whole situation to Asher and Oliver, and the three of us sat pondering with creases on our forehead. "Do you think Kyle is behind this? Or it's simply Ruby's another scheme?" I asked, placing my head on the sofa's headrest. We had lounged in the living room now. It could be either, but irrespective of who is behind this, we need to be very careful on how we approach it. "This could be another trap," Asher answered, placing his milkshake glass down. "I understand, but with the moonstone from my pack missing, and most probably Ruby having it, I think I will go meet her. It's our only chance to get some information about it or try to get our hands on it. I explained with a sigh and decided to take a gamble. This was our only chance. We need a solid plan for that. Let's note down all the points of what can go wrong and how to counter it. Oliver fetched a notebook and pen and handed it to his father. We spent quite a while coming up with different scenarios. Once everything had been set up, Oliver turned towards me and said, "Wait for me, Mom." He rushed upstairs on his tiny legs as quickly as was possible for him. My heart warmed up. I would never get used to this feeling of him calling me Mom. "What do you think he is getting?" I asked Asher, and he simply shrugged his shoulders with a grin. Soon he appeared with a heavy laptop tucked under his arm and something shiny in his hands. I quickly took the heavy black laptop from him and placed it on the table while he handed me a silver pendant with an oval emerald studded inside it, the size of an almond. The upper edges of the pendant had the royal seal of their pack embedded in it. "Mom, wear this. It has a hidden camera installed inside plus a tiny device. It can bypass any jamming devices and maintain a signal. The camera will live stream your surroundings. It's directly attached to my laptop and we will be able to see what you will be seeing," he explained while flipping open his laptop and rapidly typing on it. I heard and watched him with awe. The pendant connected with a small beep to his laptop, and the video of the living room's ceiling began to show on the screen as the pendant was facing upwards. I was beyond impressed at his talents, almost lost for words. With affectionate eyes, I stared at my talented son. "You are amazing, Oliver," I choked out, my voice so emotional. "I will always look after you, Mom. Both of us got you, right, Dad?" He turned to face Asher, who was watching him with pride. He said, "Yes, we will always protect you." I nodded at him with a bright smile. "Thank you." I appreciated him. Oliver has some mad skills when it comes to technology. "Remember that ship which Oliver owns and ran away in? The one where you met him for the first time?" Asher inquired. "Yes. Well, all the latest tech of the ship has been designed by Oliver. There is some pretty advanced tech he had installed on that ship of his," Asher explained with pride. I was utmostly surprised. "Really, Oliver?" Turning to face him, I had my mouth hanging open. He shrugged his tiny shoulders but had a hint of pink on his cheeks. He was blushing. "You are one bright kid, and I am so proud to call you mine, baby." Leaning down, I collected him in my arms, picked him up, and placed a long, tender kiss on his red, fluffy cheek. He blushed even more and hid away on my shoulder, hiding his face in his tiny hands. Asher and I burst out laughing at his actions. Asher moved closer to us and enveloped both of us in a hug. "We are a family and we always look out for each other," Asher remarked, placing a kiss on my head and then Oliver's. After we broke apart, I went on to change into black stretchable jeans and a black top. I put on my black combat boots, ready to kick some ass when needed. Ruby had sent me a location from where her car would be picking me up and taking me to some unknown location. Asher knocked and walked inside my room as I was putting on my leather jacket. Stepping closer, he turned me to face him from my shoulders and zipped up my jacket. I couldn't read his emotions, but his eyes seemed a bit sad. Placing a tender kiss on my forehead, he said, "Be safe, Anna. I hate sending you like this, but we will be watching, so fear not." "I won't," I assured him, and he hugged me again. Finally, it was time to leave. Hayden was to take me. So I bid farewell to both Oliver and Asher and headed out towards the rendezvous point, hoping that everything will pan out smoothly. My pendant rested over my jacket so my son and my chosen mate would be able to clearly see.